Okay. So basically, I prepared new material for this sikha, like the next ICAs, but I felt like there's something off. And then what I understood was that I have to start from the beginning and review, just not going through every single word, but to review, because we've had so many months. First of all, we forgot the beginning. Second of all, we've lived so many months and trying all these things on for size. And now we have even more clarity on the same things. So now, and I want to go slow and absorb and digest, because it really doesn't make a difference how many times we learn the same thing. It's more for bringing about it and really understanding it and talking about it and internalizing it. And, when you try it on for size and you come back, you say, this worked, this didn't work. So that's really the idea. So it doesn't matter how many times we learn the same thing, we understand it more and more each time. So that's what I'm going to do. And that once I start preparing the review, that's what really got me excited. And so I realized that this is what Hashem wants. So we're going to review. And anybody wants to comment, feel free, and we'll go slow. And I want to stop after an hour. So at 2:30, we'll stop, and then we'll continue. We're not going to review from scratch next week. We'll continue from where we left off. Okay. So the Sikha is the Shabbos Parshas Kiseitse, 14th day of Elul, from 1991, Nun Aleph. And the title, which I'm calling this Sikha, is Out to War via Serenity and Calm, a taste of the world to come. Okay, so the Sikha begins with the fact, the Rebbe says, that every Shabbos we read two parshas. We read in Shachris and Musaf, we read the parsha of the week, and then Kriyas Torah, and then by Mincha we actually start a little bit of the next week's parsha. And the Rebbe says what's very interesting is that we always find the connection between the parsha that we read by Shachris and the parsha we read by Mincha. So this Sikha that we're talking about is Kiseitse, right? And what parsha comes after that? Kisavai, right? Now, Kiseitse talks about going out to war on your enemies. And Kisavai talks about entering Eretz Yisrael and living in it and establishing it and living in peace and serenity. So first of all, one is about going out and one is about coming in. So that's already two different subjects. One is about how do you connect the two? One is about going out, one is about coming in. The other problem is that you have one about going to war and one about settling the land. I mean, that's how much different do you want to get? So the two opposite situations. Now, okay, we could say like this, that yes, it's true that when they went out to war, it was a voluntary war, by the way, we'll get to that. But yes, we could say that Hashem promised that they're gonna be successful. So they went with like a lighter heart. They weren't afraid maybe that they're going to be hurt, and you're going to be able to accomplish your mission, and you're going to take captives. Okay, yes, but nonetheless, war, whichever way you spin it, is about lack of menucha and hisyashvus. It's a lack of tranquility and settlement and calmness. That's the bottom line, right? And when we're dealing with our stresses in life, doesn't matter what, it's stress. It's the bottom line, it's war, okay? It's not easy. So then how do we say that, what's the connection between that and Kisavai, which is vacation, 5-star vacation at the beach with the waiter service and all the good stuff, right?
Yeah.
So that's such a big contrast. And war, I mean, come on. And you're sleeping in sleeping bags. How do you, so it says, right, each person's asleep under his vine and under his fig tree. I mean, how much better do you get? Relaxing in Eretz Yisrael under the fig trees. So this is, yeah. So now the Rebbe says, so before he gives the answer, he wants to show you that not only in a physical way are these parshas are talking about physical going to war, right, and physically entering Eretz Yisrael. As well, these parshas are also talking about our spiritual war. Okay, so what's the spiritual war here that we're talking about? And that's going to be they're both going to be true. It's very interesting because you'll see it's very interesting at the end. When we realize that the unity is that everything is really spiritual, everything is Hashem. There's not going to be any distinction between spiritual and physical. It's all one. That's going to be at the conclusion of our class. But bottom line is, so Kiseitse is talking about the neshama that goes from her root and source above in the world of Atzilus. So she goes out from her source and root, and she descends below into the material world of Asiya, right? The world of action. And she becomes enclosed in the body and the animal soul in order to clarify and purify the world through clarifying and purifying her own portion of the world. Okay, so first of all, let's think about that. Okay, we don't have to go all over the world and do things to like. Everybody has a portion. There's so many people, right, in the world. Everybody has a portion of what their mission is in this world. You don't have to think that if you don't fix this and this person in China and this person in Japan and that, whatever, Mashiach's not going to come. No, that's why there's so many of us. Everybody, we're so powerful that when we refine our own portion, it could be our own home life for all matters, be anything, then we are doing this for the world. We're healing energies for the entire world. The Jewish people have a koyach that the work we do on ourselves heals it for the whole world. So that's what the Rebbe is saying. Okay, we clarify and purify them through clarifying and purifying our own portion in the world. Okay, so we're doing this for the whole world. Okay, that's number one. Now, this service is in the way of the war of the opposer, your enemy, right? Because we're trying to we have, this world is covered up and there's a lot of evil and darkness. And so it feels like, we're fighting with the enemy. And particularly when we're in exile, in Galus. We're in exile for sure, we're feeling the whole time like we're fighting the enemy because all this, things that go on. So due to the aspect of the hidden and concealment of the darkness in that time period, okay. So the Rebbe is saying over here already that he's leading us to the time period where the Rebbe is talking in Nun Aleph, and the Rebbe was saying here that in the past Avodah, the focus was more on the opposer, on going to war against the enemy. But the Rebbe is saying now it's a different focus. Yes, we're dealing with the opposer, but that's not the main focus. Okay, so particularly during the time of exile, we're not talking about the time when we're between Golus and Geula. We're talking about the time of exile. The main focus was bang, 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 right? Iskafia, everything's the enemy, emotions are the enemy, physicality is the enemy, everything's the enemy, everything is, everything becomes usher, everything is bad, everything's, you never know, everything, okay? Now, what did that cause? That caused us to be very nervous and stressed out. Okay. Kisava refers to the service which is carried out in a way of serenity and peace. Okay, so that's what is our service now. Service carried out in a way of serenity and peace, and in the referring to the time of Geula, and when the time when referring back to the time when they conquered the land, when they had the Beis HaMikdash, and everything was good. And that's directly opposite the state of situation of Pashas Kiseitse, which is going to war. Okay. Furthermore, okay. Now, okay, so another point the Rebbe is making is Kiseitse is mainly going to war is mainly the work of Galus. Kisava is mainly the work of Geula, right? So that's another way they're different. So even in spiritual ways, they're so opposite, right? So you have you have that war and peace are two different things, and going out and coming in are two different things. But also the spiritual work, going out to fight an enemy is the work of exile, and living in peace and serenity is the work of geula. So that's another difference. Okay, so according to this, okay, here's another thing. 1 second, I hear. Let me mute. Okay, mute. Did I mute? I don't know why it's not working. Mute. Miriam? Yes, okay, good. Okay, so so it's not only in the ways of service which separate the two, but now here's another distinction. Okay, we're going to tie everything all together. The main difference is between the service and the reward. Parshas Kisetse refers to the service and the deeds, and Kisavai refers to the ultimate reward of the era of redemption. Okay, so there's so many differences over here. So amazingly, this the Rebbe says. 1 second. Okay, so the Rebbe says that we like these two differences, the contrasts. What we're going to do is we're going to unify the two, and that's going to be the Avodah of today, from all different angles. But now the Rebbe was saying that the parsha of the week that we read in Shacharis and the parsha for the next week that we read in Mincha, we always find the connection. Now the Rebbe is saying Pirkei Avos of that week. We read we read 2 prakim. We read Perek Aleph and Beis. The Pirkei Avos of that week also has the same concepts. One concept in Perek Aleph of doing the work, and the other concept in Perek Beis of the reward. This is very interesting. Okay, 1 second. I hear we got a mute. Okay, all right. So in Mesechas Avos of Shabbos, right? So in Perek Aleph we have Moshe Kibel Torah Misinai, right? And he gave it over to every Jew. Okay. And it's talking about the work, the service. And then at the second parak, it says, and know the reward of the righteous in the future to come. Okay, so it's talking about, again, the reward. Okay, so all these connections. Rebbe loves to make all these connections. And that's going to be like, all these connections are really the avodah of the times, which we're doing right now. So, despite the fact, okay, 1 second. Okay, so again, so again, just like with the parshas, we had Kisetse and Kisave, which are so different. The same thing, we have the Pirkei Avos. We had one that's talking about doing the work, and the Perek Beis talking about the reward, and we read them both in the same week and in one continuation without a break. Like one parak. So here we're getting closer to what the Rebbe is saying, the unity of the work and the reward, which is the service of today. So the lesson from having the two opposite concepts together is that in the service of war, it must also be in a way of menucha, serenity, and hisyashvus, feeling settled and calm. That is the revelation of Nun Aleph, when the Rebbe was introducing the Geula Avodah, that now we're in between, and now we have to do both. When we do our service to Hashem, it has to be in a way of menucha and hisyashvus, serenity and feeling settled and calm. And that's what everybody, all the New Age healing is all about, right? Feeling balanced, feeling calm. Everything is about how to feel calm and balanced. And how do you live your life accordingly? The whole world is doing this. So the Rebbe he was ahead of his times, obviously, told us how many years ago, 30 years ago, but this is the New Age Avodah. And, okay, you should go there. Now, even more than that, in Kisetse itself, right? So we said that Kisetse is about going out to war, and Kisava is about being peaceful and relaxed, right? Now the Rebbe says, even in Kisetse itself, which is the parsha of going out to war, there's already a foretaste, an example of the condition of the reward, of how we could do our avodah in the condition of the reward, which is through peace and calm. And you'll come to the land and relaxed. And how is that? Okay. From the wording of the Mishnah of the Pirkei Avos, so the Rebbe is going to get into that soon, but he now goes back to the Pirkei Avos for a minute, and then he's going to go back to the Parsha. So he says like this, Vida, and you should know, right? What is knowing, right? We learned that knowing is the unity of all polar opposites, is that state of connecting to Hashem on a level of das, right? So Vida, Shematan Schar Shal Tzadikim La'asan Lavai, and you should know, okay? You should be on the level of das, that the receiving of the reward of the tzaddikim in the world to come. So what does it mean to know? We could say an explanation for this is that the service itself is through connection and unifying. Okay, when we learned in the previous classes that when we live in a way where nothing is shut down, where our whole being is unified, right? We use everything. We know how to balance the heart and the mind and the body. We tune in, right? We tune into the heart's desire. We get the mind out of the way, and then we listen to what it has to say, and then we validate it, and then we bring back in the mind to figure out the best way how to do it, right? So that's like the way of unity, okay? So when you're living in the way of unity, what happens? You're tuning in to your essence, and you're tuning into Hashem, to your level of neshama and the level of essence. And in that level, you know everything's going to be okay. You're in total emunah. So that's a level of das, okay? So the Rebbe is saying that when we live this way, then we could live the reward right now, okay? When we live in this level of das, which is about the unity of, instead of shutting down, of validating and bringing everything on board and tuning in and living with our whole being and doing things accordingly, then we can live in the way of the reward of tzaddikim in the world to come. Which means that in the time of service, we could have a taste, an example of beginning of the world to come. Mamish. So not every day is going to be perfect, right? We're still learning and and trying on things for size. But the bottom line is we get a lot of taste of it when we do manage to make, let's say you got triggered, you healed your trigger. Now you did something to make yourself in a good state. And you tuned into what you need to do to make yourself in a good state. Now you're feeling very good and amazing, and you're feeling on a high, right? And now nothing bothers you. So that's a taste of the world to come. Okay, so the Rebbe is saying is talking about this service. Okay, anybody want to share anything before we go on to the next? Okay. All right. So we said that this is talking. So even in the Pirkei Avos, the Rebbe said it's talking about this avodah. And then even Kisetse itself, which was the parsha of the war, you could see the reward as well. Why? Because in that same parsha it talks about biyamo titein schar, paying the wage of a worker on the day that he worked. Okay, so we don't have to wait for Mashiach to come. We're doing work. We could get a reward right now. And the Rebbe says we could help ourselves to reward. Why? How? By choosing to live a life of peace and calm. And this is the Malchus Avodah, right? So we can have it right now. We can have it right now. And from this, it is understood also in regards to giving the wages of the service of Bnei Yisrael through HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Right? So the same thing is that we're working for Hashem. And Hashem, in this Kisetse, there's a halacha that you have to pay the workers on the day that they worked. You can't let them go home without getting paid. So we're working right now for Hashem. So we have to have the reward as well. We don't have to wait for Geula, for the big bang Geula. We could do it right now. Because it has to, because Hashem has to pay us not just in the future, but he has to pay us right now, bo bayom, on the same day. In addition to that, it also has another thing that talks about the reward. It says that when kisavai b'keren re'acha v'chalta anavim kinafshecha sevacha, when you enter another man's vineyard, you may eat as many grapes as you want until you are full. Okay, so there's a halacha that when you're working for somebody else and you're picking grapes for him, you're allowed to help yourself to as much as you want. And it's grapes referring to pleasure. I'm going to get more into it. And that's part of the job, on the job. So it means Rebbe saying our job doesn't have to be stressful. We could choose peace, joy, and serenity. We are in control of our own being. We're the ones that could set boundaries and say, no, this doesn't work for me. It's going to stress me out. And I need to take care of myself right now. So while we're doing the work, we could also eat the grapes. Okay. So, and the Rebbe also says, the Rashi, I think, says that it's a mitzvah that the boss should also leave grapes for the workers to nash on. It's not just like they could eat whatever they want. He should leave things for them. Okay. Now, so how does Hashem? What does Hashem owe us for working for Him every single day, right? So when we work in the field of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Rebbe says, Hashem, who's called your friend, in Parshas Yisro, Hashem is called our friend, that it includes all the needs of a Jew that are necessary for the existence of a Jew, right? Like because if you're working in the field, so you have grain, I'm going to get into that as well. So that's a staple. So all the things that you need for survival. It means Hashem has to Pashut give you somewhere to live, food, clothes. He cannot leave you on the street. Absolutely not acceptable. Okay, that's number one. But even more than that, because it also talks about picking grapes in the vineyard, Hashem also has to give us things of pleasure. Okay, because the service of the vineyard is the wine represents pleasure and enjoyment. So it's not just that Hashem has to give us necessity. Hashem, in order for us to be able to do our job well, we also have to have pleasure. And that's, I think, another sikha where it's not a reward. I'm not sure if it's this sikha or another one. We'll get to that. But it's necessity. It's a necessity to have pleasure because the pleasure is what allows us to reveal the highest lights of Hashem. Okay, so we did it last time. I'm going to go into it again because I feel it's relevant. Does anybody want to add anything before we continue? Okay, so last time we went into the footnote, which elaborated on the two mitzvahs in Kiseitse. One talks about when you're picking grapes in a vineyard of your friend, so you have to be able to eat, the grapes. And another one talks about the wheat in your wheat fields of your friend, and you have to be able to eat that as well. Why does the Torah have to say both? Right? Why can't it just say any field you work in, you could eat whatever you want? So there's a point. There's nothing by accident. Okay. So what's the point? Because on a deeper level, the two employees, the one working in the vineyard and the one working in the field of grain, refer to two types of people, two very different paths in a man's work and purpose on this earth. Because there's two ways of fulfilling our work. Some see the world as a field of grain, while others see it as a vineyard, right? So there are a lot of people still doing the past Avodah, and they're still seeing it as a world of grain. And the people who are doing the Geula Avodah see it as a vineyard. So grain is a staple. It's a necessity needed for survival. And the wine it produces represents pleasure and enjoyment. So a person could be Hashem's employee, and he could understand that he has a purpose in life and a goal that he must achieve in order to perfect the world and to fulfill his responsibility to his maker. Yet when he is not tuned in to the specific Ratzain Hashem that is unique to him, right? He's just doing it from the head. Oh, I should be doing this. I should be doing that. Or you'd have to do this. It's not coming from within. What do you meant? How you meant to impact the world? What do you need right now to be in a good state? Right? No, it's by rote, right? So what happens? He's working with grain. He does what he needs as a result of moral necessity, and his work is void of any passion or pleasure. And he'll kvetch, it's so hard to be a Jew. Right? Then there's the other person. He's seemingly achieving the same goal as the first person, but he too recognizes his responsibility as an employee of God towards the world around him. But for him, the world is a vineyard, because the service he does is specifically what Hashem desires to express through him. And the work is not experienced as burdensome, but rather as a source of pleasure and satisfaction. Both of these people are employees of Hashem, and they're both serving God. Yet one is in a field and one is in a vineyard. Both are entitled to eat on the job. Both are entitled to benefit from Hashem's blessings, both physically and spiritually. There is, however, and listen to this, a fundamental difference between them. The employee working the field, the one who has no pleasure and just does his obligation, receives a limited flow from above. Okay? He has to chase everything, and everything's so hard for him and struggles with parnasa, right? He receives a limited flow from above. For his service is connected to a more external, defined aspect of Hashem, right? It's more chitzonius. It's what his head tells him that he has to do. On the other hand, the employee working in the vine, the one who tunes into Hashem's ratzain, and in this sicha, you're going to see that the Rebbe says, in addition to the Torah mitzvahs, there's going to be more Torah mitzvahs. And what are they? The ratzain Hashem that comes through you are going to be the added mitzvahs. So the self-care, the pleasure, that's added mitzvahs that we're adding to the Torah, so quote unquote, for the time of Geula. And it's in this sicha, which I'm going to try. I hope we have time to look
what
at.
You were just reading about the vineyard, the grapes and the wheat. Is that in this sicha, or you took it from somewhere else? I missed that.
So it's the footnote of the sicha talks about it very shortly, very briefly. And then I expanded it. I found somebody, a shliach expanded on it. I borrowed it from him. But it's beautiful. Basically on the same things. And it's in this sicha itself, the Rebbe is going to say the same points as we get later. So it's not like, it's like I'm introducing something different. It's beautiful to hear it a million different ways. But when we go slow, we start absorbing the difference and what we're doing and why you need to do it like that. And I'm getting the chills leading up to that. So the one who's working the vine, the one who trusts in Hashem's ratzon and tanug via the pnimius of his heart, invests his unique essence, which is Hashem's essence, into the work, and therefore not only is his work passionate and pleasurable, but because he is connected to the infinite essence of Hashem, the light of Hashem, of infinite abundance without limitations, he receives an infinite flow from above. And the Rebbe says this very point in this sicha. So he doesn't bring it out over here, but he does say that, and we're going to get to it. That's why I wanted to go really slow. Start connecting to this. When we do this work this way, we're not chasing, we attract, because we're connected to our soul, to our essence high above. And when we're connected to our essence, it's a whole different way of living. And this is the Geula way, which the Rebbe said we should do now. Okay. So any questions or comments before we move on? Okay. So the question is, according to what was said above, in that Kiseitse Lamachama Alavecha is a voluntary war. Okay, I didn't get into that then, but the Rashi says over there it's a voluntary war. It's not a war that they had to do when they came to conquer Israel. It's a voluntary war. Nonetheless, it's a mitzvah. So then we have a question. If it's a voluntary war, so then how do we explain that this avodah that we're doing to clarify the world and the body and the animal soul is voluntary? Aren't we servants of Hashem? Right? So he has a question over here. He has a lot of, now the Rebbe puts a lot of dampers on it. Like you're saying that that a worker has to be paid on his day, but that's only if he's a voluntary worker. If he's a servant, so maybe we're not entitled to the reward, and maybe we can't live like that. Maybe we have to live stressful lives, and we're not entitled to the world, right? And then who said, this is a voluntary war? Maybe, we're forced to come down here and do this work, and we're servants of God. So what do you mean it's voluntary? Okay, so the Rebbe is going to say, yes, it is voluntary. You'll see why. And this is so powerful. That's why I feel like I have to say it again, because to recognize who we are, we're one with Hashem. We are mamish Hashem's essence. And we are the part of Hashem that chose to do this. It's voluntary. It's voluntary. Yes, the Rebbe is going to say, yes, when we're in this world, we act the part of being servants. We chose that part in the play. That's all it is. The Rebbe says it. But we voluntarily chose this. So we're voluntary. It's a voluntary war. We're a piece of Hashem that chose to do this, to be able to reveal Atzmos in the lowest world. We chose this. Okay? So I'm going to go a little slower into it. So we said that we know that reward is only for a worker who will hide himself, like payment, right? That you have to pay him on this day. So like I said before, so are we obligated? Doesn't Hashem say the children of Israel are my servants, right? And what about the pasuk Lo nivresi elo l'shamesh kaini? I wasn't created only to serve. And the Rebbe explains a Geula explanation, to radiate, like through me, Hashem is radiating, right? Is being radiated, my maker. So what do you mean we should get paid for our work? Aren't we servants? And aren't we forced to come down here? So the answer to these questions could be understood through the words ki seitze, because you go out. What does it mean you're going out? Where are we going out from? We're going out from our true place, our source. What's our true place, our source? It's not only that we came from Atzilus, okay, but we mamish, our real root is above all, say the Hishtalshelus, above Atzilus, mamish, we are one with the essence of Hashem on the deepest level. And it says, for the thought of the Jewish nation preceded all entities, okay? So Kiseitse is, where did we come out from? We're not just this thing. We're not an object. We are mamish, a piece of Hashem at the deepest place, as essence be. When Hashem was, everything was Hashem. We were there. We're part of Hashem back then, and still are. Okay, so we have to know where we're coming out from, where we're leaving from. Okay. Okay, and it's only that, well, how is Hashem our king, that we chose to leave that place to take on this role of servants, so that Hashem, the Kutsha Brichu aspect of Hashem, could be the king. That's the role that Kutsha Brichu performs. And we are the Shechina, or Knesset Yisrael. That's our role in this sort of dream of that Hashem, as the whole Atzmos desires, right? To be revealed in this lowest, most concealed world, okay? But we have to know who we are. That's what I'm trying to say. We are mamish Hashem. Not just, there's different levels and higher and lower. We're mamish, the deepest, the Atzmos, mamish from the source. That's who we are. And where we came down, Hashem himself came down and as a soul to do this work. So it's voluntary. Hashem wanted to do this. And because Hashem wanted a dir b'tachtonim. And who is Hashem? We are that. We are that. This is what the Rebbe is saying. So we are mamish a chelik al kamimal, mamish, one reality with essence and existence of Atzmos, Yisrael and Kutsha Brichu kulachad. Yisrael and Klal Yisrael are one. So we have to connect to this thing we have to connect to this concept of who we are. We're mamish Hashem. We're mamish Hashem. Okay. Okay, now it says, okay. Okay, we'll go further. Now it says, because Hashem's portion is his people, Yaakov is the rope of his inheritance. Because every Jew is a portion and enlightenment from the name of Hashem, mamish, literally, and not just Hashem of the lofty ones, but Hashem is in the lofty ones. It's like our makeup is Hashem. We have to really connect to that. And not only the 4 letters of the name of Hashem, but also the aspect of the tip of the letter Yud. We are so holy. We're mamish. Yeah, we have to just connect to that. Okay, so we're going to see why. Okay. Anybody has a comment or anything to add?
I just want to say, like, we always say, yeah, we're the most beloved, creation of Hashem, and Hashem loves us so much. We're his essence. But like thinking about it that way, that of all the parts of Hashem, I mean, really, ultimately, Hashem is one. But like, we were the ones to volunteer to come down and do this avodah, like be in this world of separation and struggle and suffering, and all the separation, and we chose this. Like, of course, we're the most beloved. Of course, we're the essence. It's like what we chose is just like unbelievable, Right,
and we chose. I mean, the Jewish people suffered for their choice. I was listening to a non-Jewish intuitive speaker, and he was speaking about the Jewish people, how they're the ones that are initiating Geula and everything. And he said, why do non-Jews hate the Jews? Because they sense that the mamish so holy, and they sense the holiness, and it bothers them. They feel jealous. Hi, okay. So he says, why are you feeling so jealous of them? You know what they were chosen for? They were chosen to suffer. They were stop being so jealous. Their whole life they suffered. They chose it, but they're suffering. Who throughout the ages, who suffered the most? So stop being so jealous. And then he says, and then he goes on to say that yes, everybody's doing the Geula work, but we're the ones that have in our DNA this koyach to affect the unity and all that stuff. If we don't do it, it doesn't really have any effect. They could do it from today to tomorrow. It's not creating Geula. We're the ones who has to start with us. So when we become peaceful within ourselves and we learn how to be balanced and at peace and serene, then we're doing it for the whole world more than if a guy does it. This is what a non-Jewish person, I heard him say this. He's like intuitive in the channel, place, whatever. So, yeah, and he's like, what are you so jealous of? They were chosen to suffer. But we knew like that this is what it takes to bring Hashem's or the vision into reality. It takes to be willing to do that, to suffer. Yeah, and it is what it is. But yeah, thank you. Okay, so now on this basis, so he's saying we're mamish the piece of Yud, the top of the piece of Yud, that we're the aspect of Hashem where there's no reference to any letter or tip until Atzmos, the blessed one. That's where we are. That's who we are. And we should always remember that. So on this basis, we could explain Kiseitze Lamachama, and you'll go out to war, which refers to a voluntary war. We volunteered as part of Hashem to do this. So because we're mamish a piece of Hashem, we completely transcend the existence and relation to the world and the service of the world. And so our descent into the world is the way of going out. That's Kiseitze, from our true place as being one with Hashem at his source. And why do we go down? For the purpose of the work of clarifying in the world. After, say, the Hishtalshalus was done, with the consent of Yisrael, we agree to this. For through us, Hashem is king-gated to the created world. So Kutsha Brichu, through our work, Kutsha Brichu becomes the king, and then we are Knesset Yisrael. Then we'll have that marriage, which we'll get to in next week's class, of the unity, of how it happens, the unity between us and Hashem. And therefore, that is sent to the world, and the service of the world is the aspect of Mechemes Harishus. It's a voluntary war. And therefore, it's voluntary, we have to have reward today, Bo Bayom. So, from the aspect of the reality of the Jewish nation, that way we act, like it's our acting role, yes. So then it's that low live racy elo shamish is kind. But however, from the aspect of our true reality, which transcends the world, our service is voluntary. Okay, and that's the voluntary reward that the pasuk speaks of. And through this is also understood the generality of the matter of payment of the reward, which is not relevant in the service that is from the aspect of chiyuv, obligation. Because from the aspect of true metzius, the reality of a Jew who transcends the world, our descent in the world is for the need of the service of clearing the world, and it's reshus, it's voluntary. So now, what exactly are we accomplishing? You know, what's this war that we're doing? What's the whole parameters of this war that we're doing? That when we left our place as one with Hashem. Okay, so what are we accomplishing? So when we went out from our true place to descend below, we did it because Hashem, which we are a part of, wanted to be revealed, fully revealed in the most concealed place. Okay, so despite the fact that, okay, that's it. We said this already. Okay, next, I'll go further. And therefore, there's a need for the neshama to go out from her true place, and have within. Okay, and so in this play of being, how is it going to be possible to be able to reveal Hashem's essence in this world? So in the beginning, the world has to have this cover up in order to slowly but surely. It's something, you know. It's like if you're in the sun, how do you distinguish? You know, the rays that are in the sun, you can't distinguish them. Only when the rays come out could you distinguish them, right? So if everything is one, you can't really see what's what. So there had to be a concealment so that we could bring in those revelations into the world. Okay, 1 second. Okay, and here's the important thing. So this is the most important thing over here. So in order to accomplish this, it has to be apparent that in their descent below, it should be apparent that a Jew is going out. And when you go out, it says, kiseitse, it's in the present language, that it has to be apparent that your true place is that you're one with essence. Okay? So what's the most effective way of revealing Hashem in this world is when we go out to war, it's apparent that we are one with Hashem's essence. And I'm going to get ahead of myself and say, how is it apparent? When we do the work in a way of geula, which is a way of the reward, because we're not shutting anything down, our whole being is invested, and it's in a way of peace and calm and flow. And we use our tohu lights, which we have been cut off from, and we need those lights, the physical, the highest lights, the physical, the body, the heart, all that stuff, that the mundane that we thought wasn't holy, because it's dangerous actually if you don't know how to use it properly, right?
Could you explain that, what you're saying? What is it you just said? Like, what does that mean?
The tohu lights? Mm-hmm. Okay, we're going to get to it soon, but the previous service of the Jewish people was mainly focused on tikkun, which is Yaakov, is iskafia, and make it in strict and rules and order and
like
halacha.
Very contained.
Right.
Okay.
And we stayed away from gashmias, from pleasure. We didn't listen to our body. We didn't shut down emotions, right? But that part of our essence is that you have to connect to all that. If you're not connected to your essence, if you're not you're tuning into your body, which is a higher part of, higher light. If you're shutting down your heart, your essence is not revealed. So you're only Yaakov. Only when you use the higher lights and incorporate it and do it in a very balanced way, of course, with tikkun, with constraints, appropriate boundaries and everything, that is when you reveal your essence. That's when the true Jew is revealed. And the Rebbe says, So when you're going out to war, it has to be, in order to be effective, it has to be that's apparent in the present language right now. Kisei now. I don't know why the Rebbe says in the present language. The Rebbe says, okay, but anyway, when you go out, when you go out, kisei, when you go out. The Rebbe says that's the present language. It has to be that it's apparent that you are connected to your essence. And the Rebbe is going to say, and you're not connected to your essence if you're only being tikkun. If you're not incorporating those toyu lights, you can't reveal your essence. And I could tell you my own personal experience where I was going through a very, very stressful time, and people knew that what I was dealing with. And yet I looked so amazing, whatever, glowing, relaxed, and I was, and laughing. And they're like, it must be the thing is done. And I said, no, what are you talking about? You couldn't tell, and I couldn't tell, because how could you live that duality of going through such stress and not being detached from it, and yet being able to laugh and look happy and glowing and everything? But that's because you're revealed. That's because you're using that, and that's what I said. Because I'm living Malchus, I am making sure to take care of myself and be very careful not to get stressed out and overwhelmed, and do things to put me in a transcendent state, right? In a state of pleasure where things don't bother me, and you don't get all stressed. And it will level, and you could be in a muna that way because you feel okay. If things could go on around you, and there's no resolution, and you're okay. So I was like so impressed, actually. Like it's mamish. Like I was impressed. Like you could really live it. You could really, to the point where like people like yourself can't believe that you're dealing with stress. How's that possible?
How is that taking care of the emotions though? If like
every time I got triggered, I did my healing trigger technique, validated my emotions, right? So it's not like every day and every minute I'm feeling amazing. But then when it's taken care of, and then I go do self-care, I did some art and some this and music, and then
I see.
Everybody's happy, laughing. There's no stress. Nobody would know anything, but it's not fake. It's real. There's no shutdown. That's revealing your essence. And so the Rebbe is saying it has to be that it's apparent that in the present language that you're Pashut connected to essence. Okay. So
can I say something?
Yeah, sure.
Thanks. I haven't expressed this yet. It's only been in my head the past few days, so we'll see what comes out. I've been thinking a lot about like this concept that even with Geula, right? Like there's an aspect that we're like waiting for more Geula, you know, or like when the next stage of Geula comes, or like when this is resolved, then I'll have Geula, you know? Or like even an aspect of like chasing Geula energy, like, there's that, like I want that because it's transcendent and it gives me like this high or whatever. And like really getting to this place where I realize like opening our eyes to Geula means the trust to the level that like in this moment, in the present, I already have everything I need, like everything, the love, the connection, the joy, and so like every single moment, like I'm practicing that, like bringing my body to be like, you know, like my brain will naturally go to like, not always, like when I have everything I need and I feel it, then I feel great. But let's say I don't, or I'm feeling lonely that moment, or like I don't know exactly what I'm supposed to do with my time at that moment, or there's a struggle. And to be like, I already have everything I need right now. Like the real Geula, living Geula is like, just keep drawing ourselves back to the moment. Like whatever I need to do is already revealed. It's already here. Whatever I need is already here. Like, you know, it's like and trusting that. And that's like a war in itself, you know, like it's another level of just externally.
And also another thing,
but
thank
like
you so much.
Our body and our subconscious.
Just another point is like the same situation could be going on, right? You didn't resolve it. It's not over yet. But 1 hour you could be on a high and 1 hour you could be on a low. How could that be? If the low was really accurate, then how were you on a high when it wasn't resolved? That means that we're sort of like, we can't always control how we feel, but how we can feel amazing even if it's not resolved. It's like we have the tools how to feel amazing. It's work. Yeah, it is work. But we could do that. We could have a lot of tastes. We could have the grapes right now. And we're still struggling because there's a lot of layers to peel off and to reveal. So we go up and down and up and down. But another interesting thing somebody shared with me today is that even when we make mistakes, that's part of revealing the light. So somebody shared with me today that they felt intuitive about something, right? And they for whatever reason, something convinced them not to go with the intuition, right? And then the intuition was right. So I said, well, that's also amazing. Why? Because next time you'll realize that your intuition was right. If you would have listened to it, you would have always had the doubts. How do I know that it was really my intuition? Maybe it was this, maybe it was that. But if you had intuition, you didn't follow it, and then you got hurt for it. Now you know that your intuition was right. So the next time you could trust your intuition. If you didn't have the contrast, how would you even know? Maybe you're just making things up, right? You see what I'm saying? The fact that you didn't listen is the light, because you didn't listen, you got a smack for not listening. And now you know that your intuition was right. You were right. And so that's the light itself. The smack is the light, because it's validating your intuition. You see how?
That's the portion this week or last week. The rebuke is really also the kindness of Hashem.
Right. Because you get to try it out. Like this, you're always wondering, how do I really know this is the truth? Maybe if I would have done like that. Okay, try it out. Boom. All right. Back. Or what happened? How do I know that I have to take care of myself? Maybe I should just put myself last and take care of everybody else. And boom, everybody starts yelling at you, screaming at you, chaos. But that's the light of also the chaos, the screaming, the fighting, because now you know you're right. Okay, go back to taking care of yourself. Everybody's happy, good. See, you need that as well. So that was something that we really appreciated today. But yeah, it's all that. That's the light as well. It's beautiful if you really appreciate it. Yeah, you want to add something?
Just one more thing. Like, I think also like I don't know what I'm experiencing now. Like, I don't feel like Geula is all about like the high or transcendent or like feeling amazing. There's also the aspect of like the peace when like you're present and you're really conscious of like, like right now, my 3-year-old, I'm so present that I'm noticing the way she's talking and I'm listening to her and I'm being really present for her and like hearing her in a way that I wouldn't hear if I'm distracted. And it's like, and then I go to bed and I'm like, I feel so peace in my heart because I was so present today and I heard this kid and I heard that kid and, I ate dinner with my husband. I was really present with him. And it's like, and the house got clean and organized. And I'm like, I was exactly where I needed to be at every moment. Like, it wasn't high, it wasn't, but right. It's good. It's like, knowing that you're where you need to be. It's deep. It's more deep than high.
Right. It's beautiful. And you don't always want to be high, because if you're always high, how do you feel high?
Right. I don't even think it is high. I think it's about going.
It's once in a while you get a high, but the rest of the time it's that das of Hashem. This is what you're telling me, Nechama, is the das. That's the revelation of the das. Wow. All these noticing, this interesting thing. That is good. That's amazing. That's Hashem is like shining lights on things. That's the das.
It's being with Hashem. It's just being. It's really like it's essence. It's not. It's a high. I think it's the escape from the body. It's not even what we want.
I think a high we need when you don't feel well. Mm-hmm. You need a high.
Exactly.
To feel better.
Exactly.
Is peaceful.
Right. The rest of the time we just want to be living in peace, and also that feeling of knowing we're on the right path, even if everything's not perfect. But that das, that surety. It's like, how do I know I'm doing the right thing? Because I feel at peace.
Yes, solemn harmony.
Right. You feel at peace. My heart might be hurting because I'm in pain, but my body feels at peace. If I'm doing the wrong thing, I get agitated, whatever. I can't breathe, whatever. When I'm doing the right path, my body's at peace, even if my heart is hurting because this hurts or that, whatever. But so that's okay. Let's see if we could do one more piece and then to be continued, because this is so good to talk about, because this is our life, our present life. Yeah.
Can I add one more thing?
Sure.
I went to visit someone, and then after I was there for more than an hour and a half, I felt in my body that it was enough, and not unpleasant feeling, but just feeling.
That's your intuition talking. That's Hashem.
Yeah, but it's new. It's
amazing.
New for me.
Yeah, it's like the GPS. Okay, enough. Time to go home. It's like, and that's how we're going to live in Geula. It's all going to be through the body. Yirmiyahu says that we're going to, and the Rebbe also says Hashem's going to tell us, okay, it's enough. Now you should go here. Now you should go there. It's tuning into the Ratzon Hashem, which the Rebbe says in this Sikha as well. That the new mitzvah is going to be, it's like it's a mitzvah to go home right now. That's the mitzvah. Since when is that a mitzvah? The Rebbe says it in this Sikha. The Ratzon Hashem that comes through is going to be the new mitzvahs of Geula. Is that fascinating? That's why I wanted to go slow, to really savor all these gems. Go fast. We can't really, it's just like, because this is our life right now. So let me see. Okay, so I think that's enough for now, because it's going to get into a whole different flow. But so that's so that is what the work that we're doing right now, and it's just so beautiful to see the Rebbe's ahead of his times, and the whole world. If you read all the Jewish magazines, they're all understanding these things. But the Rebbe said this 30 years ago, and getting it from the Torah, and just it's like the Chedushim that connecting Kisei, Kisavai, all that, and the Pirkei. So because it's the service of the time, that's why the Rebbe made those connections, but it's from the Torah. Before that, the Rebbe saw different things, but because that's the thing. And the Rebbe, in this thing, the Rebbe says that the essence of a Jew is only revealed when he is unified with the Tikkun and the Tohu. And the Tohu, what I said, is it's the wild parts of ourselves, the things that you got to control, the things that could get out of hand. But those are the highest lights. And when we connect to both of them, that's when we can reveal the essence. And the Rebbe says, and that's how we bring Geula. We have to, without revealing the essence, who are we? We're Hashem. So when we use both together, we're revealing Hashem's essence in the world. So that's how Hashem is revealed in the world, right? So if you don't use it, and you just say Tehillim, you're not bringing Geula. You see what I'm saying? So somebody sent me a thing about the power of Tehillim. Yes, if you're Ratzon, I'll share a story. So because they're not going to listen to this anyway. So anyway, so somebody is like. They're waiting for something, for some kind of Yeshua or whatever, and they're saying Tehillim a whole day and this and that, and years and years are going by. There's no, nothing's happening. I said, listen, I could just tell you what I know. My two principles of life right now is: number one, heal every trigger. Number two, put yourself in a good state. Those are my two path. That's my path. That's all basically. While I'm doing Torah mitzvahs, this is my path, and have those boundaries, know how to, balance. So, and as she was saying that somebody's ignoring her, it's not returning calls. Anyway, the person did it. I said, but don't expect anything. Just do that and you'll see what happens. So the person actually did what I said. And they said, first of all, in 1 week, first of all, amazing things opened up for them. And the person who wasn't returning their call picked up on the first call or first ring, whatever. Anyway, the bottom line is that I could see that, she wants miracles and things to come to her instead of chasing. She has to connect to this kayach, which the Rebbe said, that when we're connected to essence, which is only with the combination of the two, then we have everything coming to us. When we're eating the grapes in the vineyard versus the work of the wheat. The work of the wheat, you have to struggle to get things, to get parnasa. You have to struggle to get a shidduch. You have to struggle. When you're living the life of the grapes, because that life is connecting you to essence, to you revealed your true source in Hashem, then things come to you. And so I anticipate this person is finally going to have, the funny thing is that then this person sent me a video after the whole, she realized a lot of things opened up for her about the power of Tehillim. I said, okay, listen, it's beautiful. And the miracles, I said, but you did it for 30 years, you're still waiting. Can you please get on? I said, if Ratzon Hashem is to say Tehillim, you'll say Tehillim. But stop throwing out the whole whatever. All right, so that will end off, and Be'ez Hashem, to be continued.
I want to thank you. The review was so helpful because I did not get this green and the vine and the whole volunteer thing the first time around.
You see that? And I felt intuitively yesterday when I was preparing the new material. I told my sister, actually, Miriam, I said, I'm not feeling connected to the new stuff. I'm nervous because I'm feeling dead to it. So then I put it on the side and I started writing the review, and I got such a high, I couldn't fall asleep.
I literally felt it also. Like I got the connection this time so clearly. And it's crazy because I was talking to my husband yesterday about I was using a muscle about work and an employee, and he goes, well, the employee is an employee of mine. So who am I an employee of? And I was like, oh. And then you answered it today.
What's this noise? I don't know, I hear a noise, but everybody's muted. Okay.
Laura.
So, all right, if anybody wants to add anything, but we are finished the class to be continued. That's Hashem. I'm going to have it all prepared. So I don't even have to worry that I'm not going to have it prepared. It's prepared for next week. As Hashem, same time.
Yes,
Continue.
I want to say that sometimes repeating is so helpful because everything goes so fast. So sometimes we just need to repeat what we learned already, so we can integrate it in a new way.
Right, exactly.
And we are not always ready for the new knowledge.
The first time around. Right. And for myself as well, because when you're living it and then you learn it again, you could say it over different because you have examples already that you try to emphasize and it's really true. Then it's a whole different way.
That's the thing. You're living it in your body instead of living it to learn it in your head.
Exactly.
That's what school is. School is living to learn it in your head.
Exactly.
And we're not moving into any alignment with where we're at in the energy of the world.
Right. What's this? I don't know. I hear a noise.
Devorah?
Yes.
Could you mute, please?
I don't know why I hear a noise. Okay.
I just thought I'd say, because Rabbi Wolf said this as well, didn't he, that he wants to see, he's excited when he sees girls in Sam dancing. I mean, they have to restrain themselves when he walks past, but otherwise, that's basically going in the body, isn't it? From the head to the being, if you like.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Okay, to be continued. Have a great week. Take care. Take care.